Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Comic Book Wednesday comic book update. Today, I got a couple more big trade paperback collected editions of some classic DC comics. So let's check them out today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So, first up, most of you will know I've been collecting this series essentially since they started putting them out. Picked up Volume 6 of Batman, The Golden Age. Now, I noticed with these Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, etc., whatever age collections, they've slightly redesigned the cover style. It used to be it kind of had a border around it. With the logo and everything, the Golden Age. They sort of all had a similar little logo at the bottom. But now they're going for more a full-page artwork with just the logo of the character that it features. However, the spines still maintain the old style, so you don't have to worry. They'll still all line up nicely on your shelf. Just the front covers are a little snazzier now, I think. So, yeah, very nice. So this one, I'll just show you the covers over here of the issues that are included as we go through them here. So, let's see, we've got all the Batman stories from Detective Comics numbers 82 through 92. We've got the full issues of Batman numbers 21 through 25. And we've got the full, well, I guess the Batman-related stories in World's Finest issues 12 through 14. So, all told, we've got, 403 pages of Batman comics. No, 404, sorry. Oh, yeah, actually, if you look at the ads in the back, you can see that's the old design of the covers there. How they have kind of, less artwork and more kind of this, border design. And it goes for the Silver Age ones as well. And, stuff like that. So, yeah, pretty cool. I kind of like this new design a little better. I think it's just, it showcases more of the artwork, so it's very nice. Now, this particular volume has a couple of significant additions. One of which, let me just find it here, is we have Alfred, of course, who I think we met in the previous volume, if I remember correctly. So it's still the portly Alfred Beagle. However, if we skip ahead a little bit here. Oh, actually one big addition. Check that out right there. That is the first appearance of the Batcave. Yeah, pretty cool, eh? So all the pieces are falling into place here. So, and you can see also we've got like a pretty distinct Batmobile there as well, which is pretty cool. So we're starting to get all the key pieces of the Batman mythos that have become a mainstay of the mythology ever since, finally falling into place. So it took a while to get all those pieces put together, but it's really interesting to me going through these old comics and seeing how it's evolved over the years. So this covers what is it? It covers a couple of years worth, I think. So it starts December 1943 up to May 1944. Oh no, sorry. There's a second page of contents. December 1943 to October 1944. So darn near a year's worth of comics in here, but not just one comic series, it's several. So anyway, what I was going to show you is the same issue where the Batcave shows up. We also have Skinny Alfred for the first time. Yeah, so now we have the Alfred that we know. I don't know if he's called Alfred Pennyworth at this point. He was Alfred Beagle for quite a while. But basically what happened was when the second movie serial came out, they wanted to, or I guess no, I guess this was the first movie serial. Yeah, so with the character of Alfred in the movie serial, they wanted to have Alfred in the comics match the Alfred from the movie serial because they just, I guess, the DC just liked him so much. So, so the new skinny Alfred looks very much like the Alfred from the movie serial, which is pretty cool. So, and then of course that became how we recognize Alfred as being ever since, really. I mean, he's always been that tall, skinny, very prim and proper gentleman. So, in this case, Alfred still kind of speaks like Alfred Beagle, a little more gruff and such, and then over time, he becomes a little more refined and more the Alfred that we know. Also, in addition to that, let me just skip ahead a little bit here. We also have, as kind of a backup feature, I just got to find it here. Yeah, I got to say, I love the reproduction of the artwork in this, just as an aside. It's just got bright, vibrant color, and tonally speaking, even though, I think I talked about this before in one of the previous volumes, even though, we have Robin introduced supposedly to lighten things up a little bit, the stories are still quite dark, and they kind of stayed that way up until the 50s, where I think there was that whole kerfuffle with EC Comics and everything, and comic books being, promoting juvenile delinquency and whatnot. So I think a lot of comics in general, just kind of suffered for all of that. And in the case of Batman, it was very lightened up throughout the 50s and 60s, most of the Silver Age. That's when you get all the crazy stuff like Batman going to space and fighting aliens and having rainbow-colored bat costumes, and just a lot of just kookiness throughout the Silver Age. But most of the Golden Age, the stories were still quite serious and often quite dark, and villains often met very unpleasant fates at the end. It wasn't quite as blatantly violent as the early adventures, but it still had an edge to it. There wasn't as much of the... I mean, we're starting to see more of the supervillains showing up. Like in this one, you have Joker shows up a few more times, Penguin shows up, and stuff like that. But still, for the most part, Batman's fighting like mobsters and teamsters and stuff like that, and just, more regular bad guys. Here's another Alfred cover for you. So, but I was gonna show. Where is it here? I just gotta find one. There's a backup feature that they had over quite a few of the. Yeah, here it is. The Adventures of Alfred, and this was a backup feature for quite some time. So it's basically Alfred going off and having adventures on his own, in addition to being the butler of Batman and Robin. So what was that? Yeah, it was from Batman number 22, the one I just showed you the cover of. So anyway, a lot of fun issues in this. It's great stuff. I have to say, though, I'm a little bit concerned for the future of this series because, as I think I've mentioned before, the paperback volumes present the same issues that are in the omnibus volumes, the oversized hardcover editions. Now, the omnibus volumes have about double the amount of content, so it's literally 2 volumes of the paperbacks to equal the content of one omnibus. Now, the paperbacks are up to volume 6, so that means they've reprinted roughly the first 3 omnibus volumes worth of content. The omnibus is up to volume 8, which means we would need 16 paperback volumes to have all of that content. Now, here's the reason I'm concerned. Volume 6 came out in January of 2020. Volume 8 of the omnibus is coming out, I don't know, in a month or two from the time of this recording. And Volume 7 of the paperbacks has not been announced. So, are we done with the paperbacks now? Is that it? Or is it just kind of on hold for a little bit during all the pandemic craziness? I don't know. But I personally prefer the paperbacks because I just find them more comfortable to read. They take up less shelf space. They're not as expensive. A lot of reasons. I like to lay back in bed and read comics like this. So you really can't do that with the omnibuses. The omnibus volumes are massive tomes that are basically meant, you know, for you to be sitting at a table and spreading it out, because you just can't. I call them knee breakers. There's just no way you can read them any other way. And maybe laying on the floor or something, but that's not how I like to read. So the paperbacks work really well for me. Anyway, hopefully they're not done, because I'm really enjoying these, and I don't want to have to resort to getting the omnibus volumes to fill in the rest. I'd much rather just have a shelf full of the paperbacks, you know. But anyway, that's not all I got. I got another one. As you know, this is a character I'm a huge fan of, and I picked up the first volume of this a little while ago. Recently got the second volume. Third volume comes out early next year. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we have Swamp Thing, The Bronze Age, Volume 2. Now this is a really significant collection because it contains a lot of stuff that's never been collected before. Now, first off, Volume 1 was basically just yet another reprint of Roots of the Swamp Thing, where it contained the first 13 issues, basically all the ones written by Len Wein and illustrated by Bernie Wrightson, plus the first few illustrated by Nestor Redondo. Now, this one contains the remaining issues of the original Swamp Thing series. So you've got Swamp Thing issues 14 through 24, and some additional stuff. Now, I'm just going to pause here for a sec. Before they started putting out these paperbacks, much like the Batman volumes, they put out an omnibus, the Swamp Thing Bronze Age omnibus. Now, the omnibus was supposed to contain, originally, the entire 24-issue original series, individual comics and guest appearances and whatnot, in between the original series and the revival series Saga of the Swamp Thing, and then the first 19 issues of Saga of the Swamp Thing, which basically all of Martin Pasco's run, which lead up to Alan Moore's legendary run, which of course has been collected many times. So it was a pretty big deal when that omnibus was first announced. It's like, wow, we're going to get like literally everything Swamp Thing up until the start of Alan Moore's run. A lot of that stuff had never been collected before. But then when the omnibus came out, a lot of fans were you know, pleased to finally have the Martin Pasco run and the rest of the original series, but it left out all of those in-between issues, between the two main series, where Swamp Thing was kind of in guest star limbo for a while before getting his own regular series again. So, along comes Volume 2 of the Bronze Age paperbacks. Now, in this case, they've done something quite different from what they usually do, where it's just the paperbacks are just one of the omnibuses split into two paperback volumes. No. This one contains all of the stuff that we thought was going to be in the omnibus. So this volume is darn near double the length of Volume 1. And it contains, get this, it has issues 14 through 24 of the original Swamp Thing, so you get all the rest of the original series. It also includes Challengers of the Unknown, numbers 81 through 87, which was a revival of the Challengers of the Unknown. They hadn't had their own book for a while, so they brought it back. It only lasted 7 issues, but Swamp Thing was a regular character in that. He was essentially part of the team for the duration of that. And it's a really good story arc, but it's never been collected before, like ever. So very cool to have that in here. And then we also have DC Comics Presents number 8, as well as The Brave and the Bold numbers 122 and 176. Now, Brave and the Bold at 176, interestingly enough, is written by Martin Pasco, and it was the last sort of limbo guest appearance of Swamp Thing, meeting up with Batman once again, before a couple years later getting his own book again with Saga of the Swamp Thing. Now, that it doesn't end there, because this also contains the never before published, let me show you here, when Swamp Thing was canceled with issue number 24, the next issue, issue 25, was well into production. In fact, it was almost done, but the series was canceled, so the original series basically ended on a cliffhanger where he was supposed to be meeting up with and fighting Hawkman. That issue was never published until now. So there you go. So this contains all of the art pages that were completed for Swamp Thing number 25. A lot of them are only pencils like that, but about half the issue is actually fully complete. Penciled, inked, lettered. It only needed to be colored. And that's it. In addition to that, it contains the entire plot script as well as the entire dialogue script. So you have the entire story of what would have been issue 25 here, presented for the first time anywhere. Like, nobody's ever seen this stuff before, except for collectors who, you know, bought some of the original artwork, I guess, over the years. But yeah, how cool is that? Like, what an amazing collection for Swamp Thing fans. Like, this is such a great collection of rarities. As I say, a lot of which had never, ever been collected before. So this is a really big deal. This was really exciting for me because I'd read some of the... I had a bunch of the original issues of the original Swamp Thing series. I got a bunch of the ones... like, I had the Roots of the Swamp Thing collected edition, and then I bought the individual issues or received as presents to fill out the rest of the series. But I had never read the very end of the series or any of those in-between issues. I'd never got around to tracking them down. So this was a real treat. So I'd say, you know, a good 60% of this was stuff I'd never read before. So very, very cool. Now, I should mention, I mentioned that Volume 3 is on its way. Volume 3 is coming out, I think, January or February of 2021. You can pre-order it now. Now, Amazon, in listing the issues that are included, say that it includes issues number 6 through 19 of Saga of the Swamp Thing. I'm pretty sure that's a misprint. I can't believe that they would be so thorough with the first 2 volumes to then leave out the first 5 issues of the regular series that followed. That just doesn't make sense to me. So, I'm pretty sure it's going to include issues 1 through 19 of Saga of the Swamp Thing, and it's also supposed to include Swamp Thing Annual number 1, which actually is the comic book adaptation of the 1982 Wes Craven movie, which is pretty cool. And that was one of the things that you know, inspired DC to bring Swamp Thing back, was the fact that the movie came out, and they thought, well, why don't we give Swamp Thing his own regular book to tie in with the movie, and then, you know, see how it does. And it did pretty well, apparently. So I'm really looking forward to that. I had most of Martin Pasco's run. I had also tracked that one down a few years back. So I've read most of it, and I gotta say, like, it's really underrated. And I'm glad to see it's finally being collected together in this... I mean, it's been collected in the omnibus before, but that it's also being collected in the next paperback edition, because it's a great story arc. It's so good. Lots of twists and turns, and to me was a wonderful return to form for Swamp Thing, because as enjoyable as some of those Limbo series are, or Limbo stories are in between the 2 series, it doesn't quite capture the essence of Swamp Thing. In some ways it does, but in other ways it kind of, it feels like they just didn't know what to do with him at that point. They wanted to do something with him, but weren't quite sure, so let's put him with this team, and the phone is ringing. I'll be back. Sorry about that. I swear, it's like it's only when I start filming, that's when the phone rings. I sit and procrastinate for hours and hours and hours, sometimes days, not a peep. But the second I fire up the camera, that's when someone calls. It's like they have a sixth sense, like they're just waiting. Maybe they're watching the stream, waiting to see when because I stream all my filming. But anyway, great volume, really good stuff. Great volume, really good stuff. I'm absolutely loving this trend as of late of collecting all these great old comics together in these beautifully restored, incredibly affordable volumes, and getting to read a lot of these great old stories. So anyway, Volume 3 of Swamp Thing comes out early next year. Really looking forward to it. It'll be great to be able to reread all of Martin Pasco's run, and for a lot of you who've never read it before, to be able to experience it for the first time. Now, as always, if you'd like to add either of these to your collection, I'll add Amazon links in the description below. I'll add the pre-order link for Volume 3 of Bronze Age Swamp Thing as well. And, you know, to those of you who use my links, thank you very much, because it does help to support the stream and all that I do. The stream and the videos and, well, everything that I do. So thank you very much to those of you who use my Amazon links. Alrighty, well, that is it from me to you for now. I got a lot of reading to do. Actually, I've already read this one. I haven't read this one yet. I just kind of flipped through it. But, yeah, read till your eyeballs fall out. Alright, I'll see you next time, everybody. Until then, thanks very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and sayonara. And be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream almost every day. I knew I forgot something.